Hey everybody, Obey the Papaya, back at you again with another YouTube video. So one thing I've noticed, I keep watching in a lot of people's games, seeing a lot of, just in general, while getting into games, I keep seeing a lot of people not respecting the most important time in the game, at least in my opinion. Because early game is so important to prevent tilt, to prevent getting behind early. Early game is where you're gonna have a ton of your advantages, right? Getting level 2 advantage is super duper important for trying to get a kill without your jungler. Um, Trying to deny XP from the enemy, river buffs. There's a lot of good setups that happen that can completely change, the outcome of a game simply because of early game. And, the most important time for me is a minute 47. And a minute 47 is basically the time that the jungler is going to take the first camp. It's going to be very hard for a jungler, right, to try and do a gank without doing first camp, even invades and stuff like that. It's just very hard for a jungler to do anything without taking first camp, right? And the reason why a minute 47 is so important is because that's the time I want to see people putting wards down. At a minute 47, everyone needs to use up that ward, that they didn't use previously, right? Unless you use it to do an invade, unless you place it, try and get some sort of vision or whatnot. But if you're a new player, if you're intermediate, you're trying to advance yourself, play safe, improve, your ability, you need to understand the importance of the minute 47. So at a minute 47, right? Let's discuss it as if we're on blue side right now. At a minute 47, they take red. Well, let's say this first. 99% of junglers are going to take red buff first. It's honestly like it's given. It's the better buff to take. It's the better setup. It's just the buff to take right now because it helps make clear faster. Now you're going to have some like Countess could go and take, blue buff, but it really isn't worth it. I mean, man, I rarely see people start blue buff, right? So it's an assumption that you got to take, that you just have to take because, right? You're not going to win every single game. It's the same way. You're not going to expect what the enemy's going to do every single game, right? But there's some ways to mitigate it. So the biggest assumption is 99%, 90% of the time they're going to start red buff, right? So once they take red buff in a minute 47, basically that they're going to be just finishing red buff. So it's technically safe to ward at that point, right? So if you're in the dual lane, the most important ward to put is you can put it right here on top of river or a little bit ramped up next to 5 camp. Now, there's two things that technically benefit if you go and put it up next to 5 camp. If you're the support, you could probably hear them take 5 camp, and that would go boom. He did go red buff without even going into their jungler at all, right? Without going into their jungle at all, right? But at the same time, right, it's going to take some time from you. You might risk it yourself if you were a little too slow at a minute 47. In reality, as long as you get it basically on the river, you'll be set. If you can try and get it up there and try to hear if they're taking 5 camp, honestly, even better. And then by placing a ward here, you might be able to catch them if they decide on doing a rotation to try and go in for a gank. For duo, this is usually for people like Rampage who can throw a far rock out to try and get a stun by the middle of the lane, because you really shouldn't look at pushing your lane that early. At a minute 47, you're basically talking about you should be hitting first camp. So at a minute, I think camps spawn. A minute 30, the next camp or the next lane will start spawning. So a minute 47, it should basically be halfway, if not at your lane at that point. So by putting it a little bit higher up, you might be able to catch him go from that opening into 2 camp, and boom, that kind of gives the mid laner some defense too, right? Because what the mid laner is going to do is what they should do is try to look at putting the ward either at 2 camp or close to 2 camp. That way you can see him if he takes 2 camp and then crosses, or if he decides to leave 2 camp, you might be able to see him cross. But what I like to do as a mid laner, because I'm very selfish when I play in pubs, I actually don't like to put it on 2 camp. I like to take my my ward. I like to put it a little bit on the ramp here. So right before you get to the stairs, this little ramp here. The reason why I personally like to have that is, one, they may not see it get placed, right? And two, they might not go down there to cancel to use their seeker to try and find said ward, right? I might have a chance of keeping it there. Also, I really want that river buff. I want these river buffs. I want at least one as a mid lane main, right? So I want to try and guarantee that I'm at least safe to secure that river buff or to get ready for a possible gank. So I want to put a ward kind of where the stairs start here, but not the stairs that go up into lane. So I would put a ward right there sometimes. Not too close to river buff because that's not really going to help me at all. Plus, what that's going to do is that's going to help give my offlane vision to know that he's still on left lane. Or if I throw it up higher up, right, that's probably going to let my offlane know that he's rotating into blue side and for him to be careful, right? So that's the minute 47 ward, why it's so important. You basically get to, if you get these two areas here, you basically get to cover it. Only really Kalari, Fang Mao, like those people, it's very rare for them to use their flash or, you know, to use their gap closers to really get, you know, to jump over this, because by the time they finish all these lanes, I believe it's like 220 is the timer. That's a lot of time for them to sit and wait for a river buff, unless they're coming for a blue steal. That's also what that ward is going to do right here for you too. If they come here and you throw a ward there and you see a blue steal, right? I'm sorry, if you see a ward here and they come here, now you can't go for that river buff. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to ignore that river buff, and I might try and set myself up here on this opening because it's very close to tower, and see if they're going to try and do a gank rotation into left lane, which would be a complete waste of time on the enemy, and one reason why a ward might benefit you on river. This type of rotation and gank is very rare, if ever done. Usually what they'll do is they'll come through here and try to go for a blue steal or something like that, which once again is kind of not the best idea, because basically my red a jungler should only do that if your jungler went for a gank here in off lane, right? If he saw that your offlaner took red, took fives, and then went for a gank here and spending a lot of time there, that is the only time that I would say that you might see some sort of invade here. So you do have to respect your teammate, your jungler, because a lot of junglers are going to try and go, oh, the jungler is there, I want to go and invade these camps, especially if they watch Crashy's video, where Crashy did describe and say that you want to pay attention and follow where the enemy jungler is, because you do want to try and invade their jungle and prevent them from getting leads, take their leads away. You know, that's what you want to do as a jungler, right? So you have to be aware of that. But as a mid lane, I'd come here if I see them take this ward, and I'll either take a look at river buff, or see if they're going to go for an invade here. If the mid laner gets aggressive, then I back off. I just go, he's probably going to go for an invade, try to clear out lane, play it safe, maybe hug the right side, and then I'd look at trying to see if I could get the blue buff to see if he is taking it. Maybe I'm able to steal it, maybe I'm able to delay the enemy jungler. You know, what can I get out of it? You just got to watch out for your mid laner. Now the thing is, right, when you have the mid lane throw a ward here and the support throw a ward here, there isn't going to be much mid lane ward on the right side. That's where for off lane on blue side, in this case when the off laner is on red side, right, their level of ward coverage is going to be a lot tougher. But because they're going to have blue side here, most likely that either this jungler is either going to come and wrap around to try and take 5 buff, trying to, you know, mitigate the enemy jungler, because by the time you basically get a full clear, 5 buff is going to be up, right? So you got to just be careful if they do a rotation there. So as a off laner, although I'm not very big as an off lane player, getting a ward out at a minute 47-ish, you could kind of delay it a little bit more, because once again, minute 47, right, that's going to be at red buff. But getting a ward down on top of 3 camp, basically where you get the ramp up and the height difference, getting one there gets you vision over at, if you're pushing up, if they wrap around 3s, you'll be able to catch them. You'll know that they're at 3s. You'll just get a lot of, you know, you'll kind of get an idea of what this jungler might do. And being an off laner, if you don't have an escape, you have a very long lane. You got to be careful for that, right? It is a bit riskier overall for off lane at this point, but just know, right, if you have an idea that they're at red, that you're probably not going to see them till about 230-ish on the right on your lane. So if you want to save your ward up, that's where off laner might, you know, play it safe. But it's very important to get that, you know, the location of, you know, the minute 47 wards down for duo and mid lane. Or same thing with off lane. When it comes to off lane and it's flipped over, it's still very important, you know, because that's what's going to get you. You just do not want to lose the early game lead. You're trying to play for the late game. You're trying to play for these neutral objectives in reality, right? So you want to make sure you have your XP, make sure you have your kills, don't die. And, you know, a minute 47 is going to help you a lot, right? If they get a lead early, that's going to set them up for a lot of the game. It's going to, if you lose your blink as well, I have to play even safer. Like, there's so much risk at that minute 47, and it's easily mitigated because a minute 47, the jungler is going to take off red. It's so important to get that minute 47 ward out there to try to find out where this jungler is, right? To see what they're gonna do, because it's punishable. It's very easy to punish the jungler if they decide on doing invade, ganks, and all that stuff. But that's like the most important thing that I just do not see lower elo players doing, and players in general. It really, it's very important and a very simple ward, very simple thing to do. And I would like to see more people ward as well, because warding helps win games. It really does. But that's it for this video. Let me know what you guys think. Maybe you guys think I'm wrong. We can debate it. We can discuss it. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of share this because I see this not done properly. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Leave a like if you did enjoy, and subscribe if you want to see more content like this. And I do stream daily on Twitch and YouTube, so you can catch me there and ask me questions. And you can join the Discord below as well. But yeah, take it easy. Have a good one. Good luck in your games, and I'll catch y'all later. Peace.